What's up, party people? This is Maine's World, and it is party time. The newest and realest sports podcast on the planet, giving the truth to you straight. Why? Because you can't control me. I'm Jermaine Harris, and I'm your host. I hope you enjoy the show. All right, party people, we're going to get straight into the questions. Our first question comes in from Chanel in Indianapolis, Indiana. And her question is, Maine, do you still stand by your Bulls go 500 prediction? Well, Chanel, yes. The short answer is yes. I do stand by my Bulls go 500 prediction. And when the Bulls do go 500 and make the playoffs, Zach LaVine has to get at least one MVP vote. His scoring average is amongst the elite. He's leading his team to victory. He's the only consistent scorer on the team. So he has to get at least one MVP vote, in my opinion, when the Bulls do make the playoffs. The Bulls are currently 18 and 21, so 3 games below 500. Had a tough loss versus the Spurs last night. Just couldn't get anything done in the fourth quarter. Just not finishing games. So, Billy Donovan really has to. I think he needs to pick out this game to be a catalyst for the rest of the season. He has to make the players understand that we can't lose games like this. So this has to be a game, the turning point of the season, where the Bulls don't drop games that they should win. Another key point is marketing has to be more consistent when he's in the game. He's healthy now, but he has to score at least 20 points when he's in the game. He averages too many minutes to get 10 points. He had 10 points in last night's loss, lost by 7. It's unacceptable. And another thing that needs to go the Bulls' way is Kobe White has to shoot a better percentage from three-point land. He's last 7 games, he's probably shooting, 22% or something like that. Don't quote me on that, but he has to shoot a much better clip for the Bulls to be successful in the long run. And if he does not, the Bulls need to figure out how to go another way. Those are the 2 players that are going to make or break the Bulls in the future. But I think that Zach LaVine will carry the Bulls to a 500 record and a playoff berth. Now they're going to get thrashed in the first round of the playoffs, but I think he can will them to victory in those play-in games or series or whatever they have in this year. So yes, I stand by my prediction. The Bulls will go 500 this season. Bank on it. All right, our next question comes in from Greg in Hattiesburg, Mississippi. Who do you have going to the Final Four this year? All right, Greg, it's March Madness. It's in full effect. Our play-in games begin tonight. Those should be exciting as they normally are. But to answer your question, I have Kansas, Baylor, Alabama, and Illinois. I know a lot of people might have an issue with those picks, but let me tell you a little bit about why I chose those teams. I think Gonzaga trying to complete a perfect season is a little too much for that team to handle. Personally, I don't think they have played as many high quality caliber teams as they may have in another season. And I think Kansas, that program this year has had its ups and downs, but in the NCAA tournament, having a veteran coach like Bill Self it holds a lot of weight. Bill Self is probably the most capable coach in that bracket, probably one of the most capable coaches in the tournament. So that's why I picked Kansas to come out of that bracket. I think they will have to avenge one loss, but I think that Kansas will come out of that bracket. Alabama is on a roll right now. Roll Tide, you know what I'm saying? They can play with anyone if they can stay healthy. I think they can play with anyone. The main reason I picked Alabama because I just don't think Michigan will be able to survive any team that they play in the Elite Eight without Isaiah Livers, their leading scorer, their team leader. I think that hit is gonna really prove to be the one that's gonna prevent them from getting to the Final Four, in my opinion. Now Baylor is probably one of the most tested and rested teams this year. I mean, they have had some tough games, some tough losses, and they had a long break in between this year due to COVID-19. But they have losses to Kansas and Oklahoma State. But I think they have actually beat both of those teams this year. So the two losses that they have, they actually beat the two teams that actually beat them. So, and I believe that bracket, the South bracket, is probably the weakest. That's my opinion. That's the weakest bracket. So my last team, Illinois. I might be a little bit biased, but I think the only thing that can stop the Illinois Fighting Illini from coming out of the Midwest bracket is free throw shooting. Ayo Dosunmu, the pride of Morgan Park High School. I'm a 1994 alum. He's playing some of his best ball right now. Trent Frazier playing some of his best ball right now. And Kofi from Kingston, Jamaica is playing some of his best ball right now. But if they can shoot free throws down the stretch, I don't think they can be beat. Now I know they have some game time decisions for players tomorrow. I'm not sure what that's about. I have to do a little bit of research. But if they can stay healthy, that team is sure to come out of the Midwest bracket. So that's my Final Four. Kansas, Baylor, Alabama, and Illinois. I believe that Illinois beats Baylor. That should be probably the game of the year, the game of the tournament. Kansas over Alabama, and then Illinois to take it all. You heard it here first. Fighting Illini with their national championship 2021. All right, the next question comes in from Don in Chicago. What do you think about Mitchell Trubisky to the Bills? Well, Don, I'm actually surprised about Mitchell Trubisky to the Bills. I am very happy for the young man. I'm sure he's happy to get out of Chicago for multiple reasons. The organization is headed down a minefield right now, and that is not a train to be on. So I'm sure he's happy to get out of town. I was actually surprised that he went to the Bills. I actually expected the Patriots to sign Mitchell Trubisky. He is a more than capable backup and probably a starter just in a need of new scenery. But it's a good situation for him. No pressure to start. A good situation for Josh Allen. He has no pressure on him to perform because Mitchell Trubisky is going to take his job. I'm not sure that he's there for that. And it's good for the organization. They have more than one capable quarterback now. I think their backup was Jake Fromm. I'm not sure what the situation is with Jake Fromm, but Josh Allen and Mitchell Trubisky give you a solid starter and backup. So good for him. Wish him much success unless he's playing the professional football team in Chicago. All right, our next question comes in from our resident boxing expert, Ben, in Dallas, Texas. What fights are you most looking forward to? All right, Ben, first of all, let me say RIP Marvelous Marvin Hagler. We lost a great one last week. All right, so notable upcoming fights. The most notable and what I'm most looking forward to is Tyson Fury versus Anthony Joshua to unify the heavyweight title for the first time in 20 years. The last unified, undisputed heavyweight champion of the world was Lennox Lewis, and I think his reign ended in the year 2000. So this is 2021, if y'all ain't heard. But the interesting thing about the Tyson Fury Anthony Joshua fight is they signed a 2-fight contract. So we will see at least 2 fights, the fight and the rematch. And if it's a 1-to-1 rubber match, we will get to see a trilogy. So that should be very entertaining. And most notable because, like I said, we haven't had an undisputed heavyweight champion of the world in over 20 years. And that fight is scheduled for June or July. Haven't heard where, but that is the most compelling and the most interesting fight I'm looking forward to. But on the UFC side, I have to say Kamaru Usman and Jorge Masvidal. That fight is coming up April 24th in Florida. One of the reasons why that's such a notable fight is because it'll be the first fight that we have a live capacity crowd in Florida. UFC plans to have a full capacity crowd. Florida's wide open. Interesting thing about that card is 3 title fights at UFC 261, I believe. We have Zhang Wei Li and Rose Namajunas fighting, and Jessica Andrade and Shevchenko. So 2 female title fights, and then Usman versus Masvidal, and full of a live capacity crowd. So that should be very interesting. Another fight looking forward to is just heard yesterday. Jamal Charlo has agreed to fight David Benavidez. That should be a great fight. I was actually looking forward to, I'm looking forward to the winner of that fight calling out Canelo Alvarez. I'm not sure if Canelo wants to fight someone that can actually fight, but I think the winner of that fight, I'm foreseeing them calling out Canelo. But you know the fight I want to see, Terrence Bud Crawford and Errol Spence Jr. for the pound-for-pound king of boxing title. That's what I want to see. No reports of that happening anytime soon, but that's what the fight I'm most looking forward to seeing. But in the meantime, we got UFC 261, Tyson Fury, Anthony Joshua, and Charlo Benavidez. All should be great fights. Okay, our last question comes in from Money Sale in Chicago. What is the problem with the professional football team in Chicago? All right, Sale, a man after my own heart. I'm going to talk about this. I'm probably going to get upset. I'm probably going to ramble. But at some point, I'm just going to wrap it up. I've been a Bears fan all my life, but I'm starting to rethink that life choice. I have officially released my youngest son, Jason, from his servitude fandom. He is free to be a fan of whatever team he wants, simply because the Bears have had 5 winning seasons in his entire life. He is 15 years old. So the problem beyond Ted Phillips and the ownership putting faith in folks that don't deserve it is to pin a rose on it, like we say in the military. Pin a rose on someone. Ryan Pace should have been fired at season's end. Then they had a press conference talking about they got a bunch of things wrong, but they still had faith in the people. Maybe Matt Nagy shouldn't have been fired, but Ryan Pace should have definitely been fired. Then you don't fire him at season's end. Then you don't fire him when he talks about getting Watson and giving up the farm to get Watson, when you could have had Watson for little to no money during the draft, which you didn't even speak to the man. Okay, let's slow down. Let's talk about the quarterbacks acquired by Ryan Pace. Mike Glennon, Tyler Bray, Mitchell Trubisky, Chase Daniel, Nick Foles, and now Andy Dalton. Andy Dalton, who had success in Cincinnati, but his last job was the Dallas Cowboys backup, thrust into a starting role. He went 4 for 5. But he went 4 for 5 in the NFC least division. They had a chance to win the division the last game of the season versus their rival, the New York Giants, who probably had 3 wins, and they lost that game. And then he probably was 50% and no touchdowns and a pick in that game. That's who you pick up in free agency. So you go from possibly getting Watson or lot of reports saying Russell Wilson willing to give up 3 first rounders, a third rounders, and 2 starting defensive players to get Russell Wilson. I don't know why Seattle didn't pull the trigger on that. I know Russell Wilson is a premier player in this league, but that is a franchise builder for the next coming years. I just don't understand why Ryan Pace gets the opportunity to go into yet another draft, because he's going to be fired after this year. The Bears, looking at the roster, they're going to be 3-13 at the maybe they can pull out 5 wins if Nick Foles is healthy and goes on some sort of tear. But the problem with QB and O-line is all Ryan Pace. O-linemen that we have drafted under Ryan Pace. Acquired. Cody Whitehair, James Daniels, Hoysis Grasu, Jordan Morgan, Jermaine Ifedi, Rashawn Coward, Alex Bars, Jason Spriggs, and our fan favorite, Charles Leno Jr., the Walrus, as we call him. Maybe 2 of those offensive linemen are actually good and still on the team. I think 4 of them are still on the team. 1 is the worst offensive tackle in the history of football, in my opinion. In all the years I've been watching football, Charles Leno Jr. is the worst offensive lineman I've ever seen. And let's not forget Ryan Pace's first pick, Kevin White, with the number 7 pick, who has had a grand total of 25 catches and 285 yards and 0 touchdowns. I don't even think he's in the league anymore. We've had 1 winning season under Ryan Pace. He's the professional football team in Chicago are 42-54 since Ryan Pace has become the general manager. That's not gonna cut it. So that is the main problem with the Chicago Bears, Ryan Pace. I hear reports that the Bears or the professional football team in Chicago are now about to release Kyle Fuller. Kyle Long has been signed by the Chiefs. He just retired to get up out of town. Like, let me out of here. I quit playing football. It's crazy. But that is what's the problem with the professional football team in Chicago. And I think I'm at like probably 6 minutes. So I'm going to wrap it up, B. But I hope I answered your question. Once we get rid of Ryan Pace, we'll have a rebuild again. And the Bears will be good probably in 2025. All right, people, the next time you see me will probably be Monday. I'm going to catch these NCAA play-in games tonight. Catch some NCAA action this weekend. And probably watch those Bulls come up with another victory. Got some new theme music coming in. And Maine's World will have probably a new look. So stay tuned. And I'll see you guys soon. All right, party people, that's our show for today. Appreciate you being here. Hit us up at mainsworldpodcast.com to drop your questions. We're also available on YouTube. Please hit like and subscribe. Until next time, I'm Jermaine Harris, and I'm out. Why? Because you can't control me.